Welcome to this podcast, to this engineering podcast. I said it in Instagram a moment ago, but it's been a while since we do not have a new episode, and now we have a special guest. Jason, please introduce yourself.
Yes, hello, Ramon. I'm Jason Rennon. I'm Global Director of the Environmental Validation Laboratories at Harman International.
Yeah.
And I'm pleased to be here to talk to you today about my experiences and how I've come to be.
I am pleased too. And I'm, like I said before, outside the camera, I'm grateful for taking this time to be here. I know it's very complicated when you are traveling and we talk about it, right? The family stuff, the other job stuff, and that kind of things that we do not see as engineers or even as managers in the company. So again, thank you for taking this time and for being the first high-level executive, or I don't know how to say it, high-level management, maybe more appropriate.
I've been wanting to do this, since you told me about it, and I'm glad we were able to make this happen,
Yeah,
so
finally.
It's been some time. So
Okay.
Let's get into it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start. The first episode, it's going to be more focused on your student years, or why do you wanted to study engineering, your first steps in engineering. So please tell us what engineering did you study and why do you wanted to become an engineer?
So it's an interesting question, right? So I have I think a different perspective of how my path that I ended up taking here. In high school, I really enjoyed the thought and how electronics were coming along and advancing really quickly. I really got a spark, and in my high school, I had an opportunity to go to a vocational center. So I had 2 years of hands-on training, kind of in the technical realm, not engineering, but more, theory of electronics engineering technologies. And then after some of these classes, 2 years of this, basically my junior and senior year of high school, it came time to consider what am I going to do for college. And because I excelled in that in the tech school, I was encouraged to go to post-secondary, but I wasn't sure on the engineering route. I wanted to feel it out a little bit more, and when I was discussing it with counselors and family members, they kind of said, if you're not sure, you should maybe take it slower. Maybe just go get your 2-year technical degree and then see what lies beyond that. So that's kind of how I started, but at first I was thinking aerospace. I thought that was really an exciting place to be. Since I was growing up in the Detroit area, of course there was a lot of automotive opportunity, and of course my father was doing work for many automotive companies and some other non-automotive companies. But in the end, I went to ITT Technical Institute. I studied there for 2 years, and after my first year is when I started job hunting. Yeah, I put my resume out there, and I had some hits, and it was pretty exciting. Not in aerospace, unfortunately, though.
You told me outside the camera that you started in the night, studying in the night.
Right. So I had a school. School was in night, but I actually had a day job that I was working at the time. It was kind of an electronics technician job. It was assembling wiring for prototype gauging for engines, transmissions. And I thought that was pretty cool, but the company wasn't so good.
Okay.
And that's why I really started after a year of school, plus I had some experience with hands-on. It was time to make a move.
You said you wanted aerospace. How did you ended up in the automotive industry? Were you happy at the beginning?
Yeah, so being a young, I wouldn't call myself engineer, right? But a young person.
Okay.
In the moment, right? I had a year of technical training on top of my high school training, and then I didn't really know what I didn't know, right? And not everyone was giving me clear direction on how to get into aerospace, but
Yeah.
I knew there were plenty of companies I applied for, but the hits that I was getting back on the calls were like outside testing labs, and I didn't even know what this testing environment was. So I took some of those interviews, and actually it was very interesting to me, seeing the electronics products, and you were testing them, and you were making sure they were good to be put into mass production, into the cars. And that really made me think. That really kind of took root, And then I was thinking, well, if these jobs are here now, then of course I can gain more experience, and maybe I can apply that later down the road. Yeah. So I did go on some of these interviews, and really kind of opened my eyes what else was out there, just what opportunities are really out there in the area that I was living in. So yeah, I mean, I took some interviews, and some people might remember the company DTL. That was actually my first interview that I had, and also gave me my first job offer away from where I was working before at the electronics tech place.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought the offer was low.
Okay. But was as a technician?
As a test technician,
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
At DTL, it was an external test house in Detroit. So I kept looking because I still had my job. I was still going to school. I didn't have to make any crazy decisions.
Yeah.
But the next week, it was another outside lab. I can't remember the name of it right now.
I don't want you to remember.
Yeah. I believe they're out of business anyhow. But they also interviewed me and offered me a job. And I was like, wow, this is kind of easy. But again, kind of not in the expected range that I was anticipating.
Yeah.
So I laid low one more, I don't know, a couple more weeks, maybe 1 month. And then I got a hit from TRW Automotive.
Okay.
And this was much more significant. It was a tier 1,
yeah,
and it was in safety electronics, airbag controllers, braking controllers, safety sensors. They were doing mechanical switching, and this seemed really awesome. I did the interview, and they liked me, and this is when I made that transition.
But since the beginning, in the laboratory stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because again, I really liked the hands-on part of it. I mean, seeing the product work,
yeah,
trying to figure out what's wrong, problem solving, and just a whole new experience out of just sitting kind of at a bench and wiring to schematics that was losing its luster pretty quick. This was more fast-paced, a lot of structure, and it was a big company. TRW Automotive at the time was very, very, I don't know what to say. It was just a very comfortable. It felt like an instant fit for me.
And how difficult was this part of being working and studying at the same time?
So that's a great question because at this time I was still living in my parents' house in Dryden, Michigan, and it's a small town, and the drive to school was 35 miles.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna in miles, sorry guys for the podcast. And then
do the math.
Yeah. Engineering program. Then the work was even farther away, so it was 50 miles. So it was a 100-mile round trip to go to work. Plus, I was going to school at nighttime. This was probably the most difficult time of my life at that time.
What was the name of the university and your engineering? Could you repeat it?
ITT Technical Institute. It
Okay.
was a for-profit college. It's no longer around anymore. They also went bankrupt.
Oh,
sadly, but they offered a solid 2-year program for technical engineering tech degree.
Okay.
For associates.
This part of your student years and also working, and let's not say about the projects and the deliverables. What would you say was one project or one thing that mark you during your student years?
I think one of the things that I took away early on was just how regimented, process oriented, and how much they cared about doing things the same way every time, making sure that we can repeat and get audited and be able to show that high level of quality to our customers. This was something also I didn't have any bearing. I had no experience with this at all, but it really opened my eyes about all these products that are going into vehicles. They have to be tested and they have to last for a long time, right? And this is something that I was like, wow, this is a really important job, right? These are in hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of cars, and if you do a bad job here, you get that direct impact in the field, and you've got poor customer satisfaction. You got legal, you got the government coming after you, right? So this was very intense for a new person in this kind of role, trying to figure out how to be quality oriented when you had no background before. This they didn't teach you at tech school. They taught you the formulas. They taught you the hands-on. They taught you very specific things about doing a job, but not about the process orientation.
What do you take from school to apply in your job?
Because it was so structured at the job, it wasn't really parallel. I was learning, formulas and how to calculate and calculus, trig, these classes, physics. But in the general tech field, this is all done for you. You get a test plan. All the information is kind of there for you. Wink, wink. Wink, wink. And then you take that and you set up the test, you program the chamber. So I wasn't really using that part yet. Okay. Right? So there wasn't a really big parallel. I knew at some point if I continued down my path, I would get there. And I was thinking that that wasn't going to be a concern. But yeah, it was really for me to focus on learning the job, not so much learning the class.
Okay, so it was like with the class, I will have the strong foundation to be better in my professional path.
Correct.
Okay.
That was well said.
Cheers for that. Cheers. This experience, this professional experience, it's very interesting for me that you had this approach since early years.
Yeah, I mean, my friends that did go into getting bachelor's degrees, I felt like I had started well before them. I was on a career path, even though at the time I didn't know it. But I was thinking, like, I'm already getting hands-on experience. You're still in school. You haven't even had an internship yet. Yeah. And they're just this idea of you put 4 or 5 years of school before you go get a job. That didn't really sound good to me. That's again why I chose this path. That didn't sound attractive. At some point 4 or 5 years later, I thought maybe it was the wrong idea. But as I've moved on, it definitely feels like it was a very good path. And I don't want to say I had this all mapped out. It was kind of feely, it was just kind of, it happened to roll with the flow a little bit and be a little loose because there was I had a job, I was going to school, and I just wanted to see what the opportunities was. And I think that's one of my early takeaways of, you do have to generate some of your own opportunity. Just to try, right? Because you don't know what'll happen. I mean, if I didn't get a job, if I didn't get the job at TRW, I'd have probably stayed at the other place until I graduated, right? If I didn't find the right fit or something that didn't resonate with me.
Okay.
So I think this is also part of the engineering path that you get your degree and you go interview, but you kind of feel an urgency to make a decision, I think. And that's, I think, a negative part of maybe a traditional path.
Okay.
Because if the jobs aren't there, sometimes that happens. It's bad timing. Sometimes you only get one call back and you're not so sure of it, but it's the only thing that looks good right now. And yeah, that's scary.
Yeah. What would you say to that Jason, to the Jason that is going to school and in this first job and struggling? What would you say to him?
don't be afraid to take risks.
Okay.
So I was definitely more safe with how I operated. I was young, and I was definitely risk adverse. And I would say even to this day, and you might talk to some of my former leaders, they would say maybe some similar things, that I need to take a little bit more risk. But again, I think in that first role, it really resonated because it taught me about the importance of doing a good job, importance of understanding the how, the why, and being able to stand up for, yes, I did this correctly. And I think that's important, but in engineering, we are meant to try things and also come at problems different angles and different ways. And it's okay to fail when you're an engineer. But when you're executing testing and providing this kind of product to an OEM, it is different. It's a little contradictory, actually. But I think that's kind of the fundamental roots for me. And I think that might be why, maybe when we get in a little bit later, why I felt like I had to move on to a different role.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talking about kind of the fundamentals or the foundation that I had. So my employer TOW was very, very open for development. Okay. I think I had a good leadership team, and they saw I was doing well. I was exceeding and learning. And once I took on enough of the technician work, my boss was encouraging me, like, okay, I think it's time for you to go back to school.
Okay.
And this wasn't coming from my family. This was coming from my boss, who saw, potential. We should use you in a more productive, more development that'll benefit both myself and the company.
Yeah.
So this is also what I really enjoyed about my previous work, that they really also tried to recognize some talent, and also try to encourage you to go further and don't just stay in one spot. Because again, I wasn't considering going into getting my engineering degree. I was actually feeling pretty comfortable after 3 years. It was like 3 years, 4 years maybe,
yeah,
of doing this work and getting really good at it, understanding it, lots of different products. And then, yeah, as soon as my boss started pushing me down to engineering, I'm like, yeah, I think that's right. I don't know why I wasn't thinking about it. And that's also one of those things of it's really nice to have a structure that's encouraging you to develop and, take another chance, go back to school. School never bothered me. It's just at that time I didn't realize I should be doing that, right? I needed my boss to kind of encourage me.
Yeah.
My family was proud, I had a house. I bought my house at that point.
Okay.
I was feeling pretty good. But yeah, at that point it was time for a new challenge. And 2 years later, I had my Bachelor's of Applied Science, in electrical engineering, and that school was the Siena Heights University.
Okay.
And it was also a night school because I was working.
Yeah.
So that was a lot more difficult, but it was a lot more enjoyable than the tech school. It opened up my eyes a lot more.
Okay.
It gave me a lot more width of things and potential, right? So again, I think you get locked into something and things are going good, and then you need to take a risk, but you don't know what question to ask maybe, or you don't know how to take the next step. But you need some encouragement or motivation, and I think that was also the takeaway. Why did it take me so long to get my bachelor's degree?
Yeah.
Right. So don't get too comfortable. I think it's if you're hungry and or if you're not hungry, then you need to think about what you really want. And at that time in my life, I felt like I had a lot going for me, but really, if I didn't take this next step, I might have been stuck in the safe zone.
Okay. When you finally got your degree, your engineering degree, didn't you wanted to go back to aerospace? I mean, you were okay with automotive, or?
This is a good question, right? So, for those who don't know, at the time, TRW had an aerospace division.
Oh.
And this was the thought after I got my engineering degree, I could maybe go into aerospace.
Okay.
Unfortunately, shortly after I got my engineering degree, they spun off the aerospace division, and we TRW became TRW Automotive only. So I realized that after that I would have to relocate to California, I believe, and that was a little bit risky for me because again I had my house, I just got my degree, and I was kind of planted my seed, right?
Yeah.
So that point kind of bummed me out, because I did need the engineering degree to go into the aerospace division.
Okay.
But the intention was I was, after I got this was the discussion with my manager, right?
Okay.
If you're still interested in this after this, we can talk about what that looks like. But it didn't happen.
Yeah. So like you said, to younger Jason,
Yes.
take more risks.
Yes.
Okay. So be that younger Jason, take more risk now that you can. What did you find interesting of aerospace? That's something that I haven't asked.
No, I think the whole idea of interstellar transportation, exploration, again, I thought that was really intriguing. I mean, automotive is automotive. It's been around, well over 100 years now. Not that there's not new things to do in it. I think I had a little more urge to be more exploratory, and that was my initial thought. I always liked space. I liked the science of it. There was a time in high school where I thought about meteorology as well, but once I got hooked on the electronics gene, that fell to the wayside. But I was always about kind of space, and I thought that we're going to the moon, we're going to Mars, these kind of things really kind of sounded great.
Okay. Oh, all right. Any movie that may make you interest more in the aerospace?
Oh goodness.
Let's not
Independence Day.
Oh wow.
Probably.
Oh wow. Okay.
That's a different side of it, but again, the whole idea that we can maybe travel at light speed one day, and see other planets and maybe see other life.
Yeah.
That's an interesting. I mean, that's an interesting topic.
Okay. What we talk until this moment, I think that it's a great experience of your school years. I think we can finish the episode with this.
Okay.
And continue with your professional path.
Okay.
Okay. So
sounds great.
See you in the next episode.
Thank you, Ramon.